Investor here, bringing you another independent analysis. This time we're taking a look at SunEdison. Now, SunEdison is a stock that is highly talked about, not just now, but in general. It's a stock a lot of people watch. It's got a ton of volume. I don't need to go into specifics. You guys probably know all about SunEdison already. But what I'm getting at is there's been a lot more talk recently for a couple different reasons. And I'd like to go over some of those reasons before we get into the technicals about this chart. So let's discuss some of those fundamentals first. So right off the bat, I'd like to discuss the bankruptcy rumor that's going around. It's not 100% certain yet that SunEdison will file bankruptcy. However, what is certain is that they have contacted creditors to look for a new line of credit during this bankruptcy filing. So they haven't exactly released news to the public that the bankruptcy is going on 100% for sure. But we do know that they have talked with creditors to capture funding for this bankruptcy process, which does indicate that they are trying to file for bankruptcy. Now, there's two types of corporate bankruptcy that we can discuss, that being Chapter 11 and Chapter 7. So right now, SunEdison is the rumors that they're filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Chapter 11 is not as bad as Chapter 7. Under Chapter 11 bankruptcy, SunEdison could still continue operations. What it means is that they would have to secure new lines of credit and possibly sell off a ton of assets in order to start paying off these excessive amounts of debt that they have. Basically, it would mean that they have a chance to sell those assets and restructure fundamentally. It doesn't mean that they're going to be completely out of business and non-existent. Now, Chapter 7, on the other hand, that would be the latter. That would actually mean that they are closing operations, they're liquidating everything. Chapter 7 is much worse than Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And just to reiterate right now, the rumors are that SunEdison is attempting to file for Chapter 11, so not quite as bad as Chapter 7. Now, we do also know that they are under an SEC investigation for fraudulent cash claims on their income statement. And not just an income statement, but on all their financial statements in general. Excuse me there. That's 100% factual. They are indeed under investigation by the SEC. So that is not a rumor. That is 100% fact. And another big issue there is the fact that they have continued to delay their earnings release at least 3 times now. They've said that they've given us a date where they would publish it, and yet they have delayed that date again and again. So that's a red flag right there. And that was an issue going on before this whole SEC investigation. So basically the line of events was this delayed earnings, and then we found out about the SEC investigation, and now we found out about the possible Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So it's only really been getting worse fundamentally for SunEdison here. And continuing right along with the bad news is that SunEdison has also they've also employed a blackout period for their employee benefits plans. Now, what that means, basically, that means that their employee plans, they're no longer able to purchase stock to go towards those plans, as in the 401k or 401b, etc. These employee plans are in a blackout period, meaning they're no longer able to do that. So that's another red flag. That's a bad sign. You don't want to be seeing that. And as if that all wasn't bad enough, you guys have probably heard of ticker symbol TERP. That's Terraform Power Global. Terraform Power just released news today on Monday that they are actually suing SunEdison, accusing them of diverting $231 million of TERP's cash to pad the balance sheets rather than to finish important projects over in India. So that's a very awkward situation. Terraform is actually suing SunEdison, and SunEdison is the parent company of Terraform. So this whole thing is really just a whole mess for SunEdison right now. It's like I said, it doesn't mean that they're going to be going out of business entirely like a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but this is a lot of really bad news. Really, really bad news. All right. With that out of the way, and just to give another disclaimer, I could go into much more detail about all that, but this video is probably already going to be a little bit longer than I normally like to make them. So we're not going to go into too much detail about all that anymore. Let's take a look at this chart. So this chart that we have here is actually going to be basically what happened pre-market and during the trading period and a little bit after hours here. I just want to take a look. So you can see from the top, we were trading at about 48 cents on Friday. We closed around 45 cents. And then overnight, Friday night, SunEdison just tanked all the way down to about 17 cents or so. And it did kind of run back up pre-market a bit. Well, actually, I see the line is a little different there. So it did close after hours Friday at about 22 cents rather. And then it did raise up a little bit, closing right around 27 cents for the pre-market. Unfortunately, it didn't go up during the trading period, but it sunk down right to my support line here, which is right around the 21 cent mark. Probably even less, maybe 20 cents, 20.5 or so. Bounced off there, and then there was actually right around here, I saw on the level 2 as well, that there was a lot of bids coming in, and those were the day traders trying to push this stock up, get in real low, push it up and get out. But they didn't, with how much bearish bias there is right now in SunEdison, the bulls, even the day traders, weren't able to really push that price up much at all. It did go from about 20 cents to 25 cents there. So you could have made a decent 10% or so on that scalp if you day traded that, but it came right back down, and then it chanted around 22 cents all day. It did come back to about 21 cents, and it did kind of dip below our support line, but not by much. Basically, it channeled around 22 cents the entire day and closed right around 21 cents. And after hours, we're just continuing that channel. So that's, it's good. It's good that SunEdison didn't take more during the trading period, especially when you have this movement here that happened after hours Friday. There's a very real chance that SunEdison today could have went from 20 cents to 10 cents, and that would be a 50% more loss that people would be incurring there. So that's no joke. There is still, even though SunEdison is at 22 cents or 21 cents, there's still plenty of room to fall. I mean, if you're at a 20 cent stock and it drops to 18 cents, you just lost 10% on your money. So just because it's at 20 cents doesn't mean it's cheap, and it doesn't mean that this is the bottom by any means. You could still lose a lot of money here. So just be careful. I'm not trying to scare you guys, just something to watch out for, even though it's so inexpensive compared to its old prices, historical prices. There's still plenty of room to fall, and you can still definitely get burned on this. Don't think that this is the bottom and it's only going to go up from here. It could absolutely keep going down. However, on the bright side, if there is some good news released, and there's a chance that it could be, if SunEdison does indeed get that Chapter 11, they don't have to file for Chapter 7. Even if they do file that Chapter 11 bankruptcy, they can restructure and sell assets, and maybe they'll be better off down the line in a few months from now or so. Fundamentally they still have a lot of debt, but this doesn't mean that they're dead. So SunEdison can turn this around. They're just facing a ton of obstacles, especially now that Terraform is suing them as well. It is a really big mess, and it's going to be an uphill battle, but SunEdison isn't exactly dead just yet. I'm not saying that you should buy into it. I'm not saying that you should sell it either. I am completely neutral on SunEdison right now. Although, to be honest with you guys, I probably would be leaning a bit more towards a bearish bias just because there's so much bad news. But this could turn around. We don't know for sure, but we'll probably find out during the coming week or two. So if you guys are holding SunEdison, I wish you the best of luck. If you're holding SunEdison from a lower point, maybe around 30 cents or so, maybe consider getting out just to be safe, because you still haven't had a total loss. But for some of you guys that have been holding since the dollar range, I remember SunEdison, wasn't not too long ago, it was $3 or so. If you're holding from there, you've already lost so much. So I wish you guys the best of luck, and we'll see how this plays out. Anyway, Active Investor out.